This program is sponsored by Zad Group.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Huda, broadcasting to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Uzair is our first questioner from the emails, and he says, any words regarding the recent terror attack in Paris? Without any reservations, the crime that took place in France, in Paris, is a crime. It is a sin, it is prohibited, it is something that should be condemned. However, as Muslims, Islam is a religion of fairness and justice. So as we condemn this brutal attack and this crime, because of its nature and because of its negative consequences on the reputation of Islam and the livelihood of Muslims in these countries, we also at the same time must condemn similar attacks. So when you ask me to condemn such attacks, I do that without any reservations. But at the same time, there has to be a balance. What's the ruling on the killings of the children and women and innocent people in Palestine? In Gaza, for example. What is happening in Syria? What is happening in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Yemen? Drone attacks. Innocent people are being killed by whom? And for what reasons? So, 12 people died, this is a crime. I agree. But at the same time, we should also look at the bigger picture about the other atrocities and crimes that are taking place by the enemies of Islam, and the Muslims are negative. They're not condemning this as well. But as soon as 12 people died in France, mashallah, everybody is condemning it. Is this fair and logical? Yes, it is a crime. And if I were to be asked whether to report these people before they committed the crime or not, I would definitely 100% say they must be reported. And if you know someone who is about to make a terrorist attack, you must report him. You must hinder him and stop him. Because this is tarnishing the reputation of Islam, and he does not represent Islam by no means. Now, more than that, if we would like to compare apple to apple, which is more severe and hideous in the religion of Islam? Killing a dozen of people, or insulting the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the messengers of Allah, Jesus Christ, Moses, all prophets of Allah Azza wa Jal, and insulting and depicting and ridiculing the religions of Allah Azza wa Jal? Definitely, the latter is blaspheming. It is an act of kufr, and it's far greater than the slaying of a dozen people, which is a crime by itself that is not to be looked down upon. It is a serious crime. But which is more severe? Why didn't we hear from the Muslims worldwide condemnation? Why didn't we hear from presidents and heads of state condemnations to these countries and to these means of media that are doing this harmful and shameful attack against our religion, against the religion of Allah, against Allah Himself? This is an irony that has to be addressed. There's something wrong in our Islam when we are quick to condemn the killing of 12 people give or take 1 or 2, while we look the other way when it comes to insulting our messenger, our Prophet ﷺ. Does this justify the killing? The answer is no. It does not. Because this killing cannot be executed except by the head of a state. So if I'm in Saudi Arabia and someone does this, it's not for me to do it. It has to go through a panel of judges who would give their verdict, and then the ruler, the head of the state, can either executes it and carries on the punishment, or he pardons the individual or puts him in jail. This is up to the ruler, the Muslim ruler. Other than that, it's no go. It's not for you and me. Otherwise, we will be living in a jungle. But again, compare apple to apple. Now, they say that this is freedom of speech, and what they were doing was okay. Well, I beg to differ, because in these countries, there is no thing such as freedom of speech, except if it was against Islam, against religions, against prophets, against Allah Azza wa Jal, against Jesus Christ. This is freedom of speech. Say whatever you want. If it's against colored people, if it's against previous colonies, no problem. If it's against the Palestinians, the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Afghanis, step on them. They're trash. But when it comes to the Jews, they'll put you in jail. Anti-Semitism. You're not allowed to talk about Jews. Where is my freedom of speech? Your freedom of speech ends here. If it's against gays and homosexuals, no, you have no right, none whatsoever, to speak about this. If it's about this and that, your freedom of speech ends. But if it's opposition groups talking against our leadership, talking against our religion in our countries, and we jail them after being tried and convicted, and we decide to flog them or to jail them or to do whatever punishment that is dictated by law, the law of the country, you hear president of countries condemning this brutal attack on freedom of speech. What irony? What contradiction? No. What enmity to Islam, I would say. So, to put it in a nutshell, Uzair, I condemn this brutal attack and this crime that took place in Paris. These people do not represent Islam. I'm not even proud to be affiliated with them. And I do have my doubts whether they have been paid off by other sources so that they would tarnish the reputation of Islam. Because in Islam we do not advocate, we do not encourage such coward attacks. Yet we do condemn these cartoons, and we do condemn these attacks because look what happened. Elsewhere, 7, 8 countries, tens of different publications, they reproduced and republished these depicting cartoons. So did this attack, this crime, serve Islam, or was it against Islam? And I would not go into the causes and the reasons of the existence of such fanaticism and terrorism in such countries, because this is not the right program to discuss these things. Second question is from an anonymous. He says that he's frustrated because of the situation in his college. The people in his hostel are involved in so many wrong things, and they're not serious about their studies, they're not having good character, and he feels alone and not at peace. What do you suggest? First of all, being in such an environment as a Muslim, you should look for any Muslim who is practicing, who shares with you your belief and your worries as well, and be with him. A Muslim is always sticking with other Muslims. They understand your belief, they understand your environment, they understand your needs, they understand what's prohibited and what is not. So you have to look for those. And if this is not possible, isolation is good. When you're alone with your prayer, when you're alone with your Quran, when you're focusing on your studies, you may become fruitful. You may produce and be productive. However, you should set up your priorities, and you should know what you want in life, and by setting your objectives and pursuing them, you will be, inshallah, able to fulfill that and reach your goals. And may Allah make it easy. Aisha from Gambia.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Salam to Allah.
My first question is, what is the best way to ask Allah for forgiveness? That's number one. Number two, you spoke about Maulud Nabi. I just want to call your attention that since you said there were disputes into the date the Prophet was born, here they are not condemning the act as other scholars are doing it in the West, because in the West, normally you used to have Islamic conferences where you have the opportunity to discuss about a lot of issues. This is the month in which in the Gambia most of the issues surrounding the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are discussed, and scholars are taking as.
I think
if you do it in the right way, then it's not, there's nothing wrong with it. So I just want you to clarify more on that, because we had a debate, a very tight debate on that issue with some of our scholars in the Gambia here.
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah, Aisha. Aisha's first question was, what's the best way to ask Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness? And we know that the Prophet ﷺ authentic hadith, which says that Sayyidul Istighfar, the master and the top of asking Allah for forgiveness, is a supplication. Allahumma anta rabbi wa ana abduk wa ana ala ahdika wa wa'dika mastata'at abu'u laka bidhanbi wa abu'u to the end of the famous dua that we all recite in the morning and the evening. And this dua is found in the fortress of Al-Muslim, Husn Al-Muslim. This is one of the ways of doing it. Likewise, repenting, asking Allah for forgiveness. رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. General ways of asking Allah for forgiveness. As long as you've repented and you feel the remorse in your heart, this would do the job. But Sayyid al-Istighfar, as said and mentioned earlier, is one of the best to do this, because the Prophet ﷺ tells us that this is the best way of asking Allah for forgiveness. She says that regarding the Mawlid, in the West, if I understood her question correctly, in the West they utilize the month of Rabi' al-Awwal to highlight the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ and to mention his life biography and the incidents that took in his life, and to explain it to the people, to draw people's attention to it. So this is a very positive thing to do. So and scholars do it. So what is your views about this? The answer is the same. This is permissible if it were to educate people and to bring their attention to the life of the Prophet ﷺ. But to make this as a habit, and it's every single year taking place on the same date, this would become an innovation, because this is part of celebrating his birthday, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is, as stated before, an issue of dispute whether it is on the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal or not. But the consensus of all scholars that he died on Rabi' al-Awwal, the 12th of it. So whoever celebrates or commemorates his birth, alayhi salatu wasalam, this is definitely something negative. And not only that, one would ask, which is more important, the birth of the Prophet ﷺ or the day that he was sent to humanity as a messenger? Definitely the day he was sent to humanity as a messenger, because this is what drew the line, and this is when the time for people to come out of darkness into the light is initiated. So I believe that it's a good cause to have these conferences, but not to associate it with that month every year, as this would become a bid'ah. Mansour says, is it permissible for us to name our newborns after the names of angels like Jibreel, Mikael, etc.? It's an issue of dispute. The majority of scholars say that it is permissible to call your sons, the male offspring of yours, with the names of the angels, whether it's Jibreel, Mikael, Israfil, etc. Some scholars did not recommend it. Not that they had prohibited it, but they did not recommend it, and they thought that it's best not to do so. But the majority of scholars say that this is permissible. Naming females with the name of angels is totally prohibited. Why? Because this imitates and it coincides with what the disbelievers used to say about the angels. And this is mentioned in the Quran. The disbelievers used to say that the angels are the daughters of Allah Azza wa Jal. So they made them females. And Allah Azza wa Jal challenged them and said, did you notice or witness their creation? Allah would write down your testimony and you'll be asked on the day of judgment. So naming a girl by the name of Malak or Malak, this is angel in Arabic, is totally prohibited. And likewise giving the name of Israfil, Jibril, Mikael, etc. to girls is totally prohibited. Nasser from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamtullah.
How are you, doctor?
I'm fine, Hayyak Allah.
Yeah, this is designer Nasser from Dammam.
Yes.
This is regarding so-called Sheikhul Islam, Dr. Tahirul Khadri. I'm just asking, don't we as an Islamic Ummah have regulations or a body to question these kind of deviant scholars and, take them to, some sort of argument over what they are doing and trying to create havoc in the Ummah?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamatullah wa barakatuh. Brother Nasser is asking about Dr. Tahir Al-Qadiri, and he is a well-known individual in the subcontinent, and especially in Pakistan. And he basically speaking, has lots and lots and lots of deviancies. Now, people are either impressed by his doctorate that precedes his name, or they follow a certain clan or cult, but what he teaches is totally against the teachings of our Prophet ﷺ. And I believe that he was the one who went and started weeping and crying because he saw the Prophet ﷺ in a vision, and the Prophet ﷺ was crying in the dream, and he was saying this to the public, and the Prophet is unable to finance his going back to Saudi Arabia. I think he didn't have the ticket money, and he's encouraging people to donate so that the Prophet can buy a ticket and go back to Saudi Arabia. What kind of blasphemy is this? This is completely unacceptable. Now, this is what the people say, and it's in Urdu, and it's recorded. I haven't heard it. I don't understand Urdu. But I've heard him speak in English, and he has lots of deviancies and false ideas about Islam, saying that Fajr is 2 rak'ah because when Adam met Eve, he prayed 2 rak'ah. So Allah made 2 rak'ahs for us. Dhuhr is 4 rak'ah because when the ship of the Ark of Noah landed, and the water disappeared, Nuh prayed 4 rak'ahs for Dhuhr, so Allah Azza wa Jal made it upon us. Asr is for something similar to that, and Maghrib because Ibrahim, Allah Azza wa Jal saved his son from being slaughtered, so he prayed 3 rak'ahs. All of this is nonsense and baseless in Islam. So is there any place where he can be tried in accordance to the Islamic Sharia? Unfortunately not. Not to my knowledge, because Islam is much weaker in the hearts of most countries to be able to implement such things. Ya akhi, if blasphemy, if depicting the Prophet ﷺ, and they're unable to take them to the court, you want them to take one clergyman like him to court? May Allah Azza wa Jal make it easy on Muslims. Muhammad from Turkey. Muhammad, listen to me from the phone, please, and mute your TV.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Okay. In the past days, some jihadist Muslims killed several people working in Charlie Hebdo magazine in Paris. I think you have a duty to have some programs about these radical groups, just like ISIS, Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. In order to show these groups' identity to Muslims and non-Muslims, they are not only killing people, but also blackening the face of Islam. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad. Jazakallah khair. I believe that you did not tune in to the beginning of the program because I spoke for about 7 minutes about this incident, and you are totally right. We have to highlight their criminality. We have to expose them to the public and that they do not relate to Islam. But at the same time, we have to have the balance. Muslims have to walk up with their heads high. This is not my religion that advocates killing. But at the same time, we will not turn a blind eye to the killings of our brothers and sisters and children. We have to defend them in the legitimate Islamic ways, not through terrorist attacks or what the ISIS is doing and beheading of people and killing other Muslims and terror and blowing up innocent people. This has nothing to do with Islam. So don't get things mixed up as Muslims. No, we have to be proud of our religion and say that this is not part of it, and at the same time condemn such terrorist attacks. Jan K from Gambia.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
I have a question. Is it permissible for a woman to leave her country to another country to further her education? Is it permissible in Islam?
I will answer your question, inshallah. I will answer your question. And we have Aisha from Saudi.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, I have 5 questions.
Ya Latif. Okay, number 1.
Can we make tayammum with the sand? For my first question is this.
Okay.
And my second question is related to this question. If someone has to ghusl tayammum, so he do ghusl tayammum like wudu tayammum or any other way?
Okay.
And the third question is, if a woman died during the giving birth, the child, so this woman is considered as a martyr?
Okay.
And my fourth question is this correct that there is no barrier in the supplication of mother for her child and between Allah?
There is what?
There is no barrier between the supplication of mother for her child and between Allah.
Okay.
And my fifth question is, can we read Sunnah prayer only reading Surah Fatiha or adding any surah after Fatiha is must?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah. Yusuf from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
I am excellent, Yusuf. Jazakallah khair. How old are you?
I'm 10.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Inshallah, Rabbana will make you an imam of the Muslims.
Inshallah.
Yes, my friend.
Is Istibrahi an innovation or not?
Is what?
Is Istibrahi an innovation or not?
Yusuf, I'm unable to understand the word you're asking. Is an innovation or not? What is it?
Istibrahi.
What is that? Can you explain it?
No.
I'm afraid I cannot understand your question, Yusuf. So maybe you ask your father or mother to call me. Jazakallah khair, my friend. Muhammad from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
My name is Muhammad. I'm from the Emirates. I have a question to you.
Yes.
My cousin, he used to pray 5 times a day. Recently, he came and told me he only prays 3. He said that nowhere in the Quran it says that we have to pray 5 times a day.
Okay. I will answer the question, inshallah, and answer your cousin as well.
Okay.
Muhammad from Turkey is addressing the issue of killing in France, and we have answered this, inshallah. Janki from Gambia says, what's the ruling on a woman traveling to abroad for pursuing her education? This is permissible only with the Islamic conditions, such as she has to be accompanied by a mahram, a male mahram. So her brother, her father, her son, her uncle must be with her. Without that, she cannot travel. Secondly, the environment where she's seeking this education has to be acceptable Islamically. So free mixing is not permissible, not wearing the hijab or abiding by the hijab is not permissible, and she has to be safe when she goes to that country, and that she is well protected and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Aruj from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Yes, I have to know about if a woman wears nail polish and dies in that condition, then what will she be sinful, or how is this interpreted?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Aisha says, what's the ruling on doing tayammum, which is dry ablution, with using sand? The most authentic opinion, it is permissible. Anything that is on the surface of earth, whether it's sand, whether it's soil, whether it is even rock, this is permissible for you to perform tayammum. Someone who has the ritual impurity, which is a janaba, what's the difference between the tayammum of janaba and tayammum for wudu? It's the same thing. The same methodology. One strike to the earth, to the ground, wiping your face once and wiping your hands once. Who dies while giving birth, who dies in labor, is she considered to be a martyr? And the answer is yes. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ putting her as a martyr. And she says that, is it true that there is no barrier between a woman supplicating to her son and Allah Azza wa Jal? The answer, I don't know anything as such. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that the supplication of a father against his son has no thing to block it from Allah Azza wa Jal, and it is answered. Not for his son, against him. So the son should be intimidated by this hadith to be respectful and to avoid his father's dua, otherwise he will be in great trouble. And she says that if I'm praying voluntary prayers, whether it's sunnah or night prayer or etc., is it mandatory for me to pray or to recite a surah after the Fatiha? The answer is no. Reciting the surah after the Fatiha is a sunnah in all prayers, whether it's fard or sunnah. One would say, whoopee. Then in this case, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha and Fajr, I will just pray the Fatiha and make ruku'. Your prayer is valid, but you're losing reward for not following the sunnah. But your prayer is valid because the Fatiha is a pillar, and the surah afterwards is a sunnah, it's voluntary. But who is in his sound mind would reject the reward of Allah Azza wa Jalla, say, it's sunnah, I don't want it. Nobody would do this with straight iman. We have Fatima from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have a question. I go to a class here. It's like a class taken in a home. And there the ladies over there, they believe that dua done in congregation has more chances of it being accepted than that alone. So if anyone has a problem, they tell in the class, and dua, the teacher or someone does the dua, and every rest of them says Ameen. Somehow I'm not able to, I don't know whether this is authentic, whether it's an innovation, so please tell me.
Okay, I will do that inshallah, Fatima.
Inshallah.
Okay, we will take a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
TV commercials motivate viewers into immediate action and to sway consumer loyalty from one brand or service to the other. That's why we're here for you, to help you sell your products and services by using creative ideas that bring life into your own TV commercial. Advertise your business and branded products and services on Huda TV. We will offer you fast-paced and energetic 30-second affordable TV spots. Advertise on Huda TV, acquire fresh customers, and stay within your budget. For more info or to receive a quote, please send your inquiries to advert@Huda TV. Huda TV.
Huda TV's social media sites are the best way to contact us from anywhere around the world. Stay connected with Huda TV's latest news and programs through Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Skype, and Instagram. It's fast and easy. Stay up to date with your favorite shows and scholars today. Huda TV, a light in every home.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Yusuf from the Emirates says that he has a cousin that prays only 3 times a day. And he says that this is what was mentioned in the Quran. And Yusuf, your cousin, is a total ignorant. And he's in great danger, because if he insists with this ignorance of his, he's not a Muslim. Now, he is rejecting all the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And we know that the pillars of Islam is to pray the 5 prayers. And this was indicated in numerous numbers of prophetic tradition. So, the consensus of all scholars of Islam that the prayers are 5. Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. To come and claim that only 3 are mentioned in the Quran shows his ignorance. Betting is haram, but as a figure of speech, I bet you he doesn't even know Arabic. He doesn't know even how to perform wudu properly. Now, to say that only 3 prayers are mentioned in the Quran, no problem. Can you tell me how many rak'ahs mentioned in the Quran for Fajr, Maghrib and Isha, for example, or Asr? Can you tell me how many prostrations in each prayer, how many bowing or ruku', what to do, what to say? He can't. Where do we get this from? From the Sunnah. So, Akhi, you have a big problem. This cousin of yours is delusional. He's ignorant and he's innovating in Islam. He's following the Rafidah in what he says, who combine the prayers and pray only 3 times a day. And I don't even have to comment on that. So your cousin is in great danger because he faces an act of apostasy. His belief would be an act of apostasy. You should try your level best to bring him back to his senses, because falsifying or saying that I do not accept the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ takes him out of the loop of Islam. Janki, once again from Gambia.
Yes, Sheikh, I would like to ask, if a woman is on her menses, and let's say after Zuhur prayers, before Ashr, she then performs Janaba, is she obliged to pray Zuhur, which has already passed? And also, my second question...
I did not get your first question. Janki, she is in her menses, and she gets in the state of Janaba as well?
Yes.
While she's in her menses?
After her menses, let's say after Zuhur prayers, before Ashr, she performs Janaba. She's now clean.
Oh, she performed ghusl, you mean? She performed ghusl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what?
Then is she obliged to perform Zuhur prayers, which has already passed?
Okay. I will answer
and my second question is, after delivery, if a woman has a baby, she's required to sit for 40 days to be purified. So if she stops bleeding, let's say after 1 or 2 weeks, can she then perform ghusl?
Okay, any more questions?
And if she doesn't do that, can she, if she sits till 40 days, because she thinks she's supposed to sit till 40 days, and she doesn't perform or pray, if you tell her that she needs to, is it correct for her to pay all the prayers she has passed because she hasn't had her bath?
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Aruj from Saudi Arabia says, if a woman dies while she is wearing her nail polish, is she sinful? Some say that she will not be admitted to Jannah. Some say she will be hindered from being given the ritual bath for the deceased, etc. All of this is nonsense. This is baseless. If she dies with her nail polish, acetone or nail polish remover can be bought for 5 riyals or 10 riyals if it's a good quality, and in a couple of minutes it's gone with a piece of cotton. So there's nothing wrong, none whatsoever with that, providing that she is wearing it to mahrams and to other women, and that non-mahram men would not be able to see that. Fatima from Saudi Arabia, she says that we study in a learning circle or knowledge circle in a house, and women, whenever they join and come together, they ask whoever has a problem to come forward, and they make congregational dua for her, because they say that individual dua is far less likely to be answered than congregational dua. So they all make dua for her. And this is an innovation. This is not permissible. If it is something that is a coincidence, so we are studying a book of fiqh or a tafsir, and at the end of that, the teacher or some of us says, oh, Allah forgive us and grant us Jannah, etc. And people say, I mean, this is okay. But to come and say, okay, who has a problem? Akhi, you have a problem. Your son, what's his problem? He's in jail because of debts? Okay, let's make dua. Okay, 1, 2, 3, make dua. No, this is an innovation. It's not permissible. Janki from Gambia says that if a woman is in her menses and she becomes pure after Asr Adhan and she takes ghusl, is she obliged to make her dhuhr up? The answer is no, because her purity was recognized after the time of Asr dhuhr was over. So the previous time is, she's not obliged to do it. She's obliged to do the current time, which is dhuhr. That is Asr. Let me rephrase that. A woman in her menses, she saw her purity 5 minutes before the adhan of Asr. She went to take a shower, she made ghusl. When she came out, the adhan of Asr was being given. She has to pray dhuhr and Asr. Why? Because she saw her purity before the adhan of Asr. But if she saw her purity 1 minute after the adhan of Asr, she does not pray dhuhr and make it up. She says that if a woman, after her giving birth, postnatal bleeding, we know that she has to wait for 40 days. But what happens if she got pure after 2 weeks? The answer is she has to perform ghusl and she starts to pray and her husband can have intimacy with her. What happens if the bleeding started later after another 10 days? Within the 40 days period from her birth, she has to refrain. But the minute she sees the purity and recognizes it with the features and characteristics of purity that she knows previously, she has to make ghusl and she has to pray. We have a question from Harith. He says, is Sharia meant to be forced on non-Islamic countries? And is there Quranic evidence or hadith to approve or disapprove this? Sharia law must be applied to the whole earth. But, akhi, who will force non-Islamic countries to implement it? This is not logical. It's their country, and there is no force at the moment that is able to do this. So, yes, if you're living in Europe, in Germany, for example, you may follow their so-called democratic procedures to promote Islamic Sharia or part of it, being a citizen and trying to reduce the evil as much as possible. But by no chance or means you can force them to do this, and this is unacceptable to them, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. We have Zakiya from the Emirates.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Salam to Allah barakatuh.
I want to ask a question. I don't know if this is the right program, but I'm going to ask you. In the Quran, in Surah 30, Ar-Rum, or the Romans, Ayah 56. And I would like to know if you could give me clarification or just explain this ayah to me, where Allah is saying that this is the day of resurrection, but you knew not.
Okay.
And I just want to know, because at the beginning of the ayah, he says that, and those who have been bestowed with knowledge and faith will say, indeed you have stayed according to the decree of Allah.
Okay.
Until the day of resurrection. And this is the resurrection. So could you explain that to me, please?
Okay, I'll do that, inshallah, Zakiya. Thank you. Farhat from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Sheikh, I have one question.
Mhm.
If one of my friends, she met with an accident during her menses, and then she got a plaster on her hand for 2 months, then what about the ghusl? Can she pray without having the complete ghusl? Means her hand was not supposed to be wet.
Okay. Any more questions?
Jazakallah.
Wa jazakum. Zakiya's question she's from the Emirates. She's asking about verse 56 from Surah Ar-Rum, and usually I refrain from commenting on verses of the Quran because this is a serious thing. And without knowledge, it is inappropriate for a Muslim to speak about it. So usually I do not comment. But the ayah, alhamdulillah, is crystal clear. Those who, in the previous ayah, Allah says that on that day, when the hour will come to pass, the wicked shall swear that they had stayed in the world, that mean in this dunya, no more than an hour. Thus they used to be deceived in the life of the world. And then the following ayah, Allah says, but those who had been endowed with knowledge and faith shall say, according to Allah's record, you have stayed till the day of resurrection. Now this is the day of resurrection, but you did not know. Meaning that you did not know at the time when you were living in this life, like we're living now, that your life is less than an hour compared to eternity, to infinity. This is our life in the hereafter. So this can be interpreted in the sense that the people of knowledge are talking to the people who are alive at the moment and telling them, listen, this is what will happen on the day of judgment, when you are resurrected. And the second interpretation, which the ayat is clearly showing, that this dialogue takes place on the day of judgment when they are resurrected and they come out of their graves and said, wow, this was only like an hour, it was like a flash. And they would tell them, yes, Allah promised you this and you did not know because you did not want to. No, Allah knows best. Farahat says that if a person has a cast or a plaster or anything that covers the organs of wudu, and he wants to perform ghusl or to perform wudu, what is the procedure? The answer is, if you cannot remove the cast, if you cannot remove what's on your hand, for example, then you should perform normal wudu. And when it comes to the cast, you just simply wipe on it like this, not with real water so that it will not affect the bandage, but rather with just wet water, wet hand. You just pass it over it, and this would do the job either in ghusl or in wudu, inshaAllah. Maryam from Gambia. I think we lost Maryam. We have Khadija from Saudi.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
Sheikh, my question is, when we do our tawaf, is it that we have to do the tawaf only for ourselves? Can we do a tawaf on behalf of a deceased person or to make dua for any other person alive?
Okay, any other question?
No, that's right, Sheikh. That's all my question is. Because I was being told that we cannot do tawaf on the name of any deceased person or anyone else.
Okay, I'll answer you, inshallah. Ambreen says, I went to Mecca a few days back, and before performing Umrah, I found a lizard near my child's feet at the hotel, which I killed unintentionally. I was in Ihram. What should I do? First of all, change the hotel. If you stay in a hotel and you find lizards in it, then this hotel is not top-notch, definitely. Second of all, it's permissible totally to kill it intentionally in Haram. We have a hadith where the Prophet tells us that there are 5 animals that to be killed, whether in a Haram area or outside of the Haram area. And among them is a dog, is a crow, is a number of scorpion, snake, etc. These are harmful by nature. And we are permitted, if not instructed, to kill them. Even if we are in the state of Ihram, even if we are adjacent to the Kaaba. What you're not permitted to do is to kill game. So you're not permitted to kill a zebra or an ostrich. You're not allowed to kill a pigeon, a bird, a rabbit. All of these are totally prohibited for you to hunt and to kill intentionally. But such insects and harmful things, be my guest. Khadija in Saudi Arabia says, what's the ruling on performing tawaf on behalf of deceased? This is not permissible. You're entitled to make a umrah dedicated for that deceased person, a hajj, this is permissible. Making dua for a living person, you can do that in haram, you can do that in here, outside of the haram, anywhere. There's no problem in that, insha'Allah. Sajid from Saudi Arabia. Sajid, listen to me from the phone and mute your TV, please. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Sheikh, how are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, I would like to ask one question.
Yes.
That is, why don't Muslim people, can pray with that particular wudu after eating the camel meat, and they have to remake the wudu?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Anything more?
And another thing is that I would like to meet with the Sheikh Saeed, professor of university. And Dr. Muhammad Saeed, Sheikh Muhammad Saeed from the Taiba University. Will I have a chance to meet him or to talk with him by phone?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Fatima from Nigeria. Fatima, listen to me from the phone and mute your TV, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Please, I want some clarification during my menses. Can you? I used to, do a week, but after 3 days, it will stop for like 2 days. So I want to know that if I can take ghusl, then continue my prayers, and if it comes back again, I will stop.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sajid is asking, why do Muslims perform wudu after eating camel's meat? The answer is because the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to do so. And this is not something that is logical in the sense that, okay, justify this. If someone passes wind, if someone, with all due respect, farts, he has to perform wudu. But if he burps and the air passes wind from his mouth, nobody says that he has to perform wudu. Why is that? This is the law of Allah. This is how you portray and express your obedience and worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet himself told us that if you eat camel's meat, you have to perform wudu. If you eat mutton, then you don't have to perform wudu. If you wish, you can do, and if you don't, that's up to you. And then he says he'd like to call Sheikh Muhammad Saeed from Taiba. I don't know the brother. You may try 905, maybe. You will find his phone number. Fatima says that during menses, it stops for, she usually has her menses for 7 days. It stops for 2 days, and then it resumes. So meaning that it's like 2 days, and then 3 days, 3 days, and then 2 days off, and then another 2 days. If you see your purity, which is recognized by the discharge that is a thread-like, a white discharge that looks like a thread, or by total dryness, no colored discharges at all, for a full day, you have to take ghusl and you pray and resume your normal life. If it comes back again, you have to refrain. So if it's always like this, these 2 days you have to perform salah in them and then stop once again. We have Muhammad from Saudi. Muhammad?
Yes?
Yes, what's your question, my friend?
I have a question that hacking is haram. I know it. Because my brother, he asked you a question that if hacking is haram. And you said it is prohibited.
Okay.
But the thing is, there are some games which are already hacked. So, can we install that?
What do you mean by hacking, Muhammad? Do you mean that taking a pirate copy or destroying the game for others?
Increasing the money, increasing the money without others. It's like stealing.
Okay.
In a game.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Okay, we have Uthman. His question is that he was talking to a Sufi about what is the greatest creation of Allah, and the Sufi said it was the Prophet ﷺ, and he said that it was the throne of Allah. Did I say something wrong? This is an issue that should not be discussed among Muslims. what is the benefit of discussing it? Now, he would accuse you of not liking or loving the Prophet ﷺ, and you would accuse him of innovating and going into extreme with the Prophet ﷺ. We know that the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal is the greatest of all creations. In size, it was the first to be created. There was Allah and there was nothing. And then Allah Azza wa Jal created the throne. Allah does not need the throne, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all these things are known to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. However, the scholars agree, well, the majority of them, let me be correct more and rephrase it. The majority of scholars say that the most beloved of Allah's creation to Allah is the Prophet ﷺ. So to say that he is the greatest or the greatest of creation, this requires evidence from the Quran or from the Sunnah, which we do not have. And going into such places would not increase your iman. What increases your iman, whether you're a Sufi or other than that, is following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, implementing it in every single inch of your life. But to just claim that you love the Prophet ﷺ and you wear a green turban and you wave flags in the masjid, in the mawlid, and you get children, beautiful children, to sing to you, and you have weird ideas, why them, not others. All of this is innovation. This has nothing to do with Islam. And at the same time, to not love the Prophet ﷺ, not to give him his due status in Islam and his love in our hearts and that fills our homes, again, this is not part of Islam. So we have to have the balance in this. Maryam from Gambia. Maryam? Okay, Yusuf from Nigeria. Yusuf? And Yusuf is gone. Muhammad is saying that we know that hacking is totally prohibited. So what to do with what we have already hacked and stole, the money? If you can return it back to the lawful owners, then this is a must. If reinstalling it or paying it back would increase in the amount of evil committed by these people, and you don't want to help them, but at the same time you want to repent, then take the money that you've hacked and dispose of it in means of charity and helping people. Abu Hamza from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
Sheikh, I have a question. It's related, prayers.
Yes.
What I have seen here mostly in Saudi Arabia, most of the people, they just pray fard prayers. Most of the time they ignore the sunnah. Are the prayers, the prayers valid if someone is praying only fard, if he is fulfilling the prayer?
Okay.
Another thing, the young generation nowadays, they don't want to spend, more time in mosque, more time in prayers. Can we encourage them by saying, okay, you just pray farad only right now, and then, slowly, gradually ask them to add sunnah and, additional prayers?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah. I think we have like a minute and a half left, so I will not take any more calls. I apologize. Abu Hamza's question is, we've noticed that a lot of the locals here only play the fard. So he asks a very good question. He says that, is it acceptable to only pray the fard? And the answer is, yes, definitely it is. This is the bare minimum. You know the Bedouin who came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about Islam, and the Prophet told him to pray 5 times a day, and he said nothing more, and the Prophet said nothing more except if you would add to volunteer and offer some nawafil or voluntary prayers. The man said, by Allah who sent you, I will not add anything and I will not deduct anything. I will do exactly as you have stated, meaning the 5 salahs, the 5 mandatory prayers. The Prophet said, he will enter Jannah if he is truthful. This means that this is the bare minimum. However, I highly appreciate what the people from the subcontinent, from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they install in the children since a very young age that they must pray the voluntary prayers. And I see them in the masjid, I see them at the workplaces. MashaAllah, they are a sight that gives joy to me and to all Muslims. When we see youngsters observing their sunnah as they observe the fard. This is highly recommended and praiseworthy. But it is not mandatory. So if you would like to encourage your youngsters to pray at the beginning, the fard, so that they would not be angry with the way things are happening and maybe neglect it, yes, no problem. But try to encourage it and try to install in them the love of the fard and the sunnah as well. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time. في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.